I think uniquely vaginal drug delivery is a uniquely unaddressed area because women don't want to talk about it and men don't want to hear
Mm,
about it. And I tell people if nasal drugs leaked the way vaginal drugs did, that problem would have been solved years ago because men wouldn't want stuff running down their face.
yes,
Women aren't going to talk, right? This is so personal, so embarrassing that,
yes.
you need somebody like me who's willing to say the word vagina 50 times a day on LinkedIn to change that conversation.
Welcome to the FemmeHealth Founders series, the show about the innovations and leaders changing the face of women's health. From pioneering entrepreneurs and trailblazing investors to advocates breaking new ground in health and wellness, our guests are driving meaningful change across women's health. My name is Maryann, impact investor and editor of Notes to Self, the newsletter exploring investment opportunities within the theme of women's health. Join me and our guests as we dive into the stories, the science, and the strategies making a difference in women's lives. Okay, so welcome to another episode of the FemmeHealth Founders. Today, I am incredibly excited because of the guests that we have on the show. And I think, as we all know, current methods of drug delivery for indication in fertility, pregnancy, and a range of gynecological conditions are profoundly inadequate for millions of women around the world. If you're a woman, you know what I'm talking about. Now, vaginal delivery has multiple medical benefits and can avoid the need for painful daily injections, but the existing products are flawed and cause a lot of stress, uncertainty, and inconvenience. And so today I am super excited to be talking to someone who's actually doing something about it. And I have the incredible Dr. Lara Zibners on the call with me. Lara, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Maryann. I'm
You're very
delighted to be here
absolutely.
in
So
my
for the
home office / gym.
awesome. And I see your bike. I see your gym behind you. So that's
That's
really
right.
awesome. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know who Lara is the co-founder and chairman of Calla Lily, a groundbreaking company which is really addressing the profound inadequacies in drug delivery that I just talked about earlier. So Lara, once again, welcome to the show. It's incredibly exciting to be having this conversation with you because, as I said, if you're a woman, you know the state school.
That's right.
So maybe we start with talking about the state school. First of all, how did you actually begin to think about tackling this problem?
So, th- you know, I'm a physician by background. I have an
Yes.
MBA. It was never my plan to go start a company. That is just insanity defined, right? But I was an investor and an advisor to the previous company. There was a period care product.
Mm-hmm.
The previous company had a commercial period care product, and I was involved with that company. But what I was most interested in was the drug delivery opportunity
Yep.
that we had. They had robustly patented that. And the reason I was so interested was my own background of infertility. I did 7 rounds of IVF. After the first one, my doctor gave me vaginal progesterone and it leaked. And I've talked to other friends I said, I think I might have been so crazy. I might have put a tampon in to just control the leakage, which is
Yes.
great if your tampon's trying to get pregnant, right?
Yes.
But that's not giving you the medication. And my friend looked at me, she goes, I did the same thing. And I'm like, how many women are dealing with these issues without complaint and coming up with their own solutions, which aren't helping them? And so
Yes.
after one round with my doctor, and she said, well, you're American, you're a doctor, let's do it American style.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tendency in the US to shy away from the vaginal because of the leakage, and they jump right into injected progesterone. And injected progesterone is like nothing I have experienced before or after. It is an
Wow.
extraordinarily thick oil-based liquid. It
Yes.
needs to go in through a very large bore needle because it's so difficult to push, and it has
Yes.
to go into a muscle. So that meant my
Mm.
buttock, and that meant every day for 5 cycles, I needed to inject my hip with this. And again, because women are problem solvers, I went to YouTube and I learned to put it in my bra to warm it up so it would flow a little bit better. But
Mm-hmm.
of everything I did during IVF, it was by far, other than not getting pregnant, it was by far the most traumatic. Women are willing to do almost anything when you
Mm-hmm.
want that baby.
Yes.
When you want a baby, you don't complain. You don't say, oh, this is, you know, you either quit or and drop out and accept that pathway, or you just put up with it because you're grateful somebody's trying to help you. And
Yes.
so when I learned that there was a drug delivery platform opportunity for the TAMP liner, which was the underlying technology, very successful consumer period care product, that's really where my passion lay. I thought what I went through was very traumatic. It's not something I think about every day. I have 3 kids. I had 2 adoptions and a surrogate. I finally threw in the towel and outsourced. But I remember progesterone to the extent where now that I'm involved with Calla Lily, I started having dreams again about injecting progesterone. I don't want other women to go through that. If there's another way, if there's a better way. And progesterone's just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many therapeutics that should be given vaginally. You want to get the right medication to the right spot in the right dose without the systemic side effects. And for some women, systemic or oral drugs aren't tolerated or contraindicated. So if we can get, and we're talking about cancer therapeutics, we're talking about infertility, miscarriage prevention, we're talking about thrush treatment, we're talking about targeted pain therapy. There's so much that we could be giving vaginally, and no one's come up with a way to do that that doesn't require women to lie down for up to an hour or longer. And to have the leakage, and you don't know how much medication is getting to the right spot. And particularly when you're trying to get pregnant, it's just an unnecessary extra stress on top of everything you're already feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you said you got involved with this company because you were an advisor. And then, so how did you get into the entrepreneurship?
Back to the beginning of the story. So here I am. I'm halfway through an MBA at the age of 51, a clinically retired physician by background. And I wasn't quite sure what my future looked like. And when there was this opportunity, I was talking to Tang, my co-founder, and we recognized that this might be the right time to pivot the company into a healthcare company, focused specifically to start with on that drug delivery, because that's something I know about. It's something I'm passionate about. And it feels like right now is the right time to be pushing forward with, women's health is hot, but how much of women's health is actually making something to deliver all the amazing things that people are coming up with? So we decided to take the parent company into administration. We relaunched as a healthcare startup, and that's become my unexpected destiny. So I call myself the chief cocktail officer. I'm not the technical person. We have amazing scientists and 7 PhDs, and Tang is, formerly from the finance world, and he's brought in amazing people. But I have this experience that I think when I share it with people, it explains why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. And, Lara, your story resonates so much with me because a lot of the founders that I've been talking to on this podcast, it's incredible that their innovations is really coming off the back of an unmet need. When I had a discussion with Paulina, for example, from FemmeHealth, looking at how to personalize hormone therapy, that came from the unmet need of having contraceptives for whatever reason, acne or managing endometriosis or whatever, and having so much side effects that you think there's got to be a better way of dealing with this. So it's actually incredible that there is that common thread, which is there is that unmet need, and founders are coming up with innovations to solve that unmet need.
You're exactly right. And it's, I think uniquely, vaginal drug delivery is a uniquely unaddressed area because women don't want to talk about it and men don't want to hear about it. And I tell people if nasal drugs leaked the way vaginal drugs did, that problem would have been solved years ago because men wouldn't want stuff running down their face. Women aren't going to talk, right? This is so personal, so embarrassing. You need somebody like me who's willing to say the word vagina 50 times a day on LinkedIn to change that conversation.
No, but you're absolutely right. It is something that we don't talk about. And that's sort of why I started the conversation saying, if you're a woman, you know. If you know, you know. If you've ever had thrush, that, yes, that the status quo is just not good enough. It really isn't good enough. And so I think from a market, an addressable market, the market is there. We're talking about a population where we have over 50% of the population. This is a problem that affects, over 50%. So,
well, and I'll counter that, Maryann. These problems are not problems that affect just women. And I think that's one of the issues is we have to call them women's health to get the attention they need. But what
yes,
father wants to see his daughter crying in pain from endometriosis? What about men
yes,
who are going through IVF and they're not given a voice and they're not allowed to express their pain and their sorrow and their anxiety? There's children that are born who watch their mothers suffer and who haven't been born because of this. There's brothers who can't bring their own baby around at Thanksgiving because their sister is going through IVF. Right? Like these
yes,
are societal issues, but we've had to put a light on the women's title in order to bring the
absolutely.
pendulum.
Absolutely. And I think off the back of that, when we talk about women's health, how has it been for you since the administration taking this company into administration, relaunching as a women's health company? What has that journey been like?
Learning curve is steep as can be. I mean, I graduated
Mm,
with my MBA a year and a half ago,
mm-hmm,
and you get a lot of, I mean, that degree changed my whole outlook because I was
mm-hmm.
very focused on the medical aspect. My eyes were really open to, economics, finance. I can have somewhat intelligent conversations, but still there's so much you don't know until you find
Yes,
out you don't know it, right? So
yes.
every day I just feel like I joke around. If you would have told me I was talking about a Series A 2 years ago, I would have asked if that was baseball, right? I so it has been everything from communication, from social media. I did
Mm-hmm.
Facebook as a parent. I didn't do LinkedIn as somebody trying to change people's minds.
Yes.
Everything. I mean, everything from
Wow.
office politics to HR to feeling responsible for the people at our company. And then even more than that, I do a little angel investing. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I until I started taking people's checks, I didn't appreciate the extraordinary responsibility that comes
Yes.
with taking other people's money and
Yes.
the humbling experience it is that other people would believe in you and invest in you. I mean, it makes me a little speechless.
Yes. I mean, you're right. I use Facebook as a parent myself. But since starting this journey, and I've been an investment advisor for, 2 decades or more now, I have outed myself. So, but since being on this mission to ensure that we channel capital, patient capital, private institutional, just because this, to make sure that this topic gets the attention it deserves, the funding it deserves, so that we can create a better society for all of us for the future, for the next generation. But since taking on that challenge, it's a steep learning curve because you're using social media differently, because you're trying to advocate, you're trying to educate. And you're right, there's a sense of responsibility that comes with, you know, having people invest in you. That's huge. That's absolutely huge.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that might have been the most eye-opening thing to go from an investor where you write a $10,000 check and
Yes.
you hope it'll work out, but it's not going to. But when people are doing that for you, that is
Yes.
an enormous responsibility.
Yeah. What are
And
some
to
of the
do it,
challenges?
oh,
Sorry,
go
please
ahead, go
go
ahead.
on.
I was just going to say, and makes you even more committed to doing the right thing in the right way,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
What are some of the challenges that you've faced so
I
far?
mean, well, being a co-founder and you're a parent, right? Like, let's just
Hmm.
start with life.
Yes.
Life is challenging. Notice that my whole gym is behind me because I don't have time to go to a gym. Right?
Lara, I am the same. My gym is in my basement.
You try to be a mother, you try to be a wife. My parents are older. My mother passed away last year. And so this carrying all these responsibilities that we all have as people, especially at
Yes.
my age, we're this sandwich generation, right? Where we have children and we have parents and other family
Hmm.
members who need us. And then, so time management is obviously a struggle. Um,
Yes.
the need to, people who do this journey when they're younger, they don't have those same responsibilities. And so they don't think of anything, they don't think anything of like traveling for a month or going over to where they need to be. You have another set of thoughts. And so Tang and I, between us, we have 7 kids, and we
Yes.
can't be everywhere all the time, right? Like we
Yes.
divide and conquer. So thank goodness I have him, and thank goodness I have him who's got such an extensive background in the finance
Yes.
side of this,
Yes.
because I think that would have been possibly not doable for me if I didn't have, like, I bring a skill set he doesn't have, and he brings a skill set I have. So finding the right co-founder and the right team
Yes.
members is crucial to this. I mean, our biggest challenge has been fundraising. Um,
Yes.
and that's partly, I think, for a number of reasons. Women's health is getting a lot of noise, but I've had my fair share of conferences where it's founders complaining to one another about a lack of capital.
Yes.
We need the capital in the room. I
Yes.
think because we are a thing,
Mm-hmm.
80% of healthcare startups are digital, right?
Yes.
So your burn is very, very low.
Mm-hmm.
When you have 7 PhDs on staff who have families that expect to eat, I mean,
Mm.
that's reasonable. You
Yes.
have to pay them.
Yes.
We've got a really high burn rate. We have to have labs, to have the emergency hose in the lab to wash your eyes out with, right? Like we've got
Yes.
stuff, and stuff is expensive. And
Yes.
so, and so I think that investors shy away from that
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to do something hard when they can do something easy? I mean,
Yeah, and that's why we do this, because I also see it. If you're talking to 2 founders who are presenting 2 companies, and one is an AI digital software, and the other is women's health, a traditional women's health topic. I think people generally tend to navigate or, gravitate towards the, digital AI startup. And I think we need to have more of these conversations, so that we have the funding on the table, um, because it's crucial.
yes, please send me your checks.
Tell me about where you are with Calla Lily. Tell me about, what you're developing and where you started.
So, right. So we are a versatile drug delivery platform. So any
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic that could be given vaginally, we can adapt our scaffold to deliver the drug while absorbing the icky,
Mm-hmm.
the fat or oil based or whatever it is. Every therapeutic has a different property, and therefore it has different needs. And we
Mm-hmm.
can adapt. I mean, our team is, I'm not the technical person. They are extraordinarily smart, and they can
Yes.
adapt that so that depending on what you're delivering, it's delivered in the right place for the right amount of time and the right dosage. So we're starting with progesterone though,
Mm-hmm.
because it's safe, it's generic, it's cheap, it's so widely used. We don't want to, let's take something easy. Why? We
Mm-hmm.
always choose easy if we can. Let's take something easy
Mm-hmm.
and show that we can deliver it. And that
Mm-hmm.
would be sort of a way of showing that we can deliver anything. And I think there's also a very pressing need with that. So we are starting. I mean, we have had very, very positive meetings with the regulators in the
Mm-hmm.
UK. We're starting with our first in-woman trial next year.
Mm-hmm.
We're being fast-tracked with a single bioequivalent study
Mm-hmm.
of about 60 women, just to show that we can deliver vaginal progesterone
Mm-hmm.
in the same, better, as good as, we don't want to say better, right? That's a whole nother set of
Yes.
challenges. We want to be as good as the existing vaginal products. And the existing vaginal products are so awful that, we need to meet blood levels that are somewhere between, 0 and 10,000. I mean, I'm joking, I'm exaggerating
Yeah.
to make a point, but because they
Yes.
leak so badly, the
Yes.
drug levels are so variable. All we have to do is show some equivalence to something that's really bad. And we're pretty sure we can
Yes.
do that. So
Yes.
that's very, very exciting. The other thing that's been quite exciting is we also have sample collection
Mm-hmm.
patents. And so
Mm-hmm.
we've been putting some energy, pending funding, into developing a bespoke menstrual effluent collection device. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize that menstrual blood is not just dead stuff. It is
Mm-hmm.
full of very, living tissue and hugely informative. We've talked to researchers looking at endometriosis detection, infertility diagnosis, and the existing methods of collecting menstrual blood are often cups, which they leak and they're
Yes.
painful for women with pelvic pain to use. So we've
Yes.
been working on something, think more like a tampon sized and shaped, but collapsible, self-sealing collection device. So that's also quite exciting. So we've got these 2 different
Yes.
avenues, and both of them, both of them addressing issues that are so broad that there's no shortage of women who you talk to who say, I could have used that.
So the progesterone clinical trials that you're starting in the UK, this is for addressing the indication of fertility, or would that also address
Yes.
menopause, for example?
So
You know.
right now we're getting two indications. We're going for miscarriage prevention. So we'd be the world's first miscarriage prevention device,
Wow.
and infertility.
Mm.
Um, menopause, yes, all of those existing indications are a road we could take, but we are a small startup. We need to take
Yes.
manageable bites. And
Yes.
then, what I tell people is if you can get me funding, I can get you any indication you want. But certainly
Yes.
there is a role for menopause. There is a role for, vaginal progesterone is not just for infertility, it is for preterm birth prevention. And there was a study that came out last year showing a significant 39% reduction in preeclampsia with vaginal
Wow.
progesterone in the first trimester for women who weren't even at risk. That was across an
Yes.
based population. So
Yes.
I see a world where every single woman eventually needs vaginal progesterone at some point in her life. We'd
Yes.
like to be that company.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Lara. That's a great vision. I love that vision. Love it.
Thank you.
So, as you've been on this journey now, I've talked to a couple of founders, and one of the things I hear is the highs can be very high and the lows can be very low. How has it been for you? And I think also off the back of that, what advice would you give to other founders who are looking to come into women's health?
The highs are high. And that's been so much of this journey that's been so fun has been the people I've met, the
Yeah.
bonding. Tang and I are like a two-headed monster now. He took my husband out shopping. Like, his kids are texting my kids. So you have to, if you find the right people, you have somebody to lean
Yes.
on. When one of you is down, the other one picks you up.
Yes.
My trick of the trade is that I'm blindly, stupidly optimistic. I just believe that if you believe, you will make something happen. And even if it's not the thing you set out to make happen, another door will open because of the journey you've gone on, because you've met
Yes.
people, because you've put yourself out there. I do think you have to listen critically to what people say. Ask 10 people a question, get 10 different answers, but be willing to listen to what, the nuggets of truth that maybe you do need to pivot, maybe you do need to incorporate something, maybe you do need to change. Like, don't be so rigid in your belief that you can't listen to any of the negative, because some of it may be valid, some of it may not be. Be also willing to stand up. And for the women who are out there, the women founders and co-founders, the imposter syndrome thing is real, but find a way. I guess I go around and I tell people, look, there's no shortage of people out there talking about stuff they don't know about. If you're talking about something you know about, don't feel like an imposter. Feel confident.
Yes.
Be willing to get in front of men and say
Yes.
things in a way that they understand. Like I present nasal drugs, right? How many of you have you
Yes.
ever used nasal drugs, right? So I guess that's it. Find the right people, keep the faith,
Yes.
but don't close your ears to the nuggets of truth that might shape your journey.
Mm. I've heard that also from another founder I was speaking to, and she said exactly what you said. She said you need to have a team that is in it for the long haul, because you will have down days and you need someone to pick you up. So
Mm-hmm.
you really need to have the right people on board. And I think when I think about that, the team is not just the core team that you have. I think it's great that you have Tang, who really comes with a lot of financial background. But I also see investors as playing a role here as part of the, if you like, the wider team. And
Mm-hmm.
but I'm keen to hear your views on how you see the role of investors in your journey.
To this point, we've never taken institutional money. And it's not because we haven't asked, right? I mean, we would take it in the right terms, but we have we're very cautious because a good percentage of investors don't bring added value. And we want people on our cap table who are going to open doors for us, who are going to advocate for us, who are going to help us achieve what we want to achieve. And I think, unfortunately, the investment world, it is a business, right? It is about returns. And so you have to have, I do think that it's important to get the right investors in with you. It's just as important as the right advisors. I mean, you can't do things without capital, but you can't also have people come in and just, I think that's the thing that I've been the most naive about is, I'm a pediatrician by background. Everything's happy, smiley, everyone's honest and nice. It's not true. You have to be a little suspicious of what people want. But if you can find the right people, oh my gosh, they're so valuable.
Yes, absolutely. I always sort of I think about it in a different way, very similar but different perspective, which is I feel that as an investor, I think it's not just about the funding, but it's really about what else you bring to the table, and
Yes.
that is, it's a collaborative approach. You need to understand what the company wants from you. Some companies, they just want to be left alone to just get the work done. And I think you should, as an investor, you should also, be prepared to step away and don't get in the way. Some companies want someone who, challenges them, brings a different perspective, as you said, opens doors, and you need to be prepared to bring your network, to the table to, advocate and help to take the company to the next level. So I think one of the things that, I see, from where I'm sitting, and I'd love to hear your perspective, is I feel that the model that we have today is not fully aligned with women's health. And that's because if I sort of look at the traditional sort of VC, PE timeline, the 5-year investing period and then the 5 years of divestment, I feel that with women's health, just because we're dealing in an environment where there are regulatory hurdles, there are sort of lengthy sales cycles, we need sort of a longer time frame. We need capital that is patient. And not, I feel that the VC model needs to adapt a bit to support women's health. But I'm keen to hear your views as a practitioner in this space.
I think you're exactly right. You're exactly right. There needs to be a variety. I mean, there needs to be pretty loose reins on some short-term funds. In my perfect world, there would be a pot of money that could be released, deployed quickly. Yep. Maybe even, from the VC standpoint, these would be small amounts of money, but they would get, because one of our challenges is you're always looking at your runway and the due diligence period just to have a VC, institutional investors invest in you. They move slow. Yes. Even strategics, they move slow, and you've got to pay your bills. And so part of being a founder is constantly watching that runway, constantly trimming corners where you can. So if there was a pile of, let's say you come to me and you say, look, I'll give you 500,000 pounds and I'll do it based on a 48 1 week, trip through your data room. But then I want to be, included in the shareholder updates. I want to get some preferential terms, when you go to the bigger raise. It feels to me like there's an all or nothing. There's the short-term grants and money you can get, and possibly you can tap into this pocket or that pocket. And that's where angels have been the absolute key to what we've done and our focus, really, because the checks come faster. So patient capital also needs to recognize that startups can't be all that patient until we get our feet on the ground.
I love that. Yep. No, that's I love that. I love that. I fully agree with you. I fully hear you. Lara, it's been amazing talking to you. I guess one thing that I wanted to ask you before we go is I have a community of values aligned investors who are passionate about women's health. And I wanted to ask your thoughts on, how can we amplify your work?
That's just exactly, you just used the word. It's amplify. It's, this whole ecosystem is like a barrel of monkeys. You reach in, remember that old game, and you take out one monkey and it's hooked to another monkey and it's hooked to another monkey. That's what we all need, is we need to be, people opening up their networks. I find people are very hesitant to say, well, I'm not investing in this, but you should look at their deck. And I've had investors tell me, well, that just, is bad news for your company. I won't do that. Now I won't pass your deck around because why am I not investing? Because it's not your space, because it's not something right? Be willing. I think that's it. It's about being willing to listen and to not be afraid to say, I don't mind if an investor says to me, you're not my space. I'll go,
Mm-hmm.
great, you're not my investor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But who do you know who's in my space? That's what we
Yeah.
need to do. We need to be amplifying the work of all these companies so that we
Yes.
get the attention we need. We need to be lifted up and, held up on platforms so that people can even see what we're doing. So
Yeah.
we will find the right people to join us.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lara. It's
Oh,
great to
thank
talk to
you,
you.
Maryann.
I've
It's been fun.
enjoyed to, yeah, it was fun. I've really enjoyed to speak to you. And I have another reason to come to Vienna.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I'm
yes,
looking
you do.
forward to connect
Please.
with you. Absolutely. I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
I do come to Vienna. It's not so often. I think last year I was in Vienna once or twice, but now I have another reason to come to
You
Vienna. So
absolutely need to come to Vienna. You can work out in my home gym.
excellent. And when you're in Zurich, you can work out in my basement.
Absolutely. I'll hold you to it.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the FemmeHealth Founders series. I hope you found the conversation as inspiring and thought-provoking as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe, leave me a comment, and share it with someone who'd love to join the conversation. Don't forget to follow us for updates on upcoming episodes and more insights into the future of women's health. Thank you for listening. And until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep championing the health of women everywhere.